All right, so we are back here for part two, recapping these last three games from last night in the boys high school winter league. So looks like we're up to Smithtown West against Chaminade.
Yeah, the Chaminade Flyers.
Yeah, the reigning champs of the high school winter league.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I would imagine being reigning champs, your first game out, you're supposed to play well, and I would say they played pretty well, right?
Yeah, I would say so. They were pretty much in control going up against Smithtown West. They got that win 12-4. And I thought one of the more interesting things about this game going into it was the battle at the face-off X between Quinn Ball from Chaminade and Nico Cottage for Smithtown West. But excuse me, as Quinn Ball, he kind of got the better of Cottage in that game. Ball the UPenn commit, Cottage going to Towson, but Quinn Ball, he kind of was a tone setter for Chaminade, really holding a distinct advantage at the face-off X for them. But between him and then also some of their offensive players like Brian Riley, he had a couple goals. Gavin Lynch with three. Then like you got a goal each from Connor Cutton, Brian Knapp, John Tully. Even Quinn Ball actually scored a goal in that game as well. And then Sean Conley and Caleb DeRocha also adding a goal. But um, but yeah, like them kind of like St. Anthony's where it's like they just have so many different offensive weapons that it's like you never really know going into a game like who's gonna be the guy or like who's gonna have that matchup to take advantage of. But sometimes it can even end up just being a collective effort, which is really kind of what it was last night for them.
Yeah, and I see they had both goaltenders play, and both of them gave up two goals. So Smithtown West had four. Anybody on Smithtown West impress you?
Yeah, so for Smithtown West, I mean Dylan Frank, he had a couple goals and an assist for them, and they also got a goal from Eric Kowalski in that game. But again, it was just like goals were hard to come by for the Smithtown West team, and I think it really started at the face-off X with Chaminade just really able to get many more possessions and get a ton of more shot opportunities in that game.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I got to watch Smithtown West play in the next game versus Ward Melville, which we'll jump into now. And I was impressed with Smithtown West. I thought Smithtown West lacked physical size, but they had good skill. Like they had a lot of good lacrosse players. You know, it's just they're physically not as big as let's say a Chaminade or a Ward Melville. But
Mhm.
I think over the course, I think they're young. I mean, you know who impressed the hell out of me and got into uh top 25s is the kid Liam Byrne, the tackman.
Yep.
And then I went back and I looked at his stats last year. He had great stats as a sophomore.
Yeah. I remember we saw them a couple we you and I saw them. We saw them in the playoffs against EI. EI took that one, but I saw them in the regular season as well against John Glenn. And if I remember correctly, he had a pretty good outing in that game. But another uncommitted 25.
Yeah, and he's a kid. It's funny because we've been doing this so long that I covered his older brother who just graduated from Geneseo, who was an All-American at Geneseo, who I remember watching him playing in high school, and he had great shake. And this kid's got great shake. Like this kid could break you down. If you watch his videos, he literally makes a defenseman fall in one of his videos. Like that's the kind of shake this kid has, and he's going to grow. And this is the part of the recruiting thing that drives me batshit. These kids they develop physically later, and you're
Hmm.
recruiting them in the beginning of their junior year,
Right.
so they're not fully matured. And I remember his brother was smaller even in his senior year, and he got bigger in college.
Yeah.
Like he's probably 5'10", but he was probably 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", in his junior year. So now you're recruiting these kids and you're making decisions and picking Jimmy over Joe or Joe over Jimmy. And meanwhile, this
And
kid is
they're
far
they're
from
like
being fully.
yeah, they're like 15, 16.
Yeah, like they're not finished, Brian. And you watch this kid play. I'm like, listen, I'm not saying this kid is going to be Grant Ament or Mike Sowers, but that's who he reminds you of. Like that's the kind of game he has. Got great hands. Did you see when they went man up last night and he was feeding from behind,
Mhm.
and the defenseman from Ward Melville had his stick up so he couldn't throw overhead passes, and he was throwing like side on passes and underhand passes, and he was sticking it right on the kid's stick. And I think the kid scored. One of the kids scored. So to me, that's a kid, Liam Byrne. It's funny. I got to find out if he has an S at the end of his name, because over here I have Burns, and in Smithtown it was no S. So I don't think there's an S at the end. I think it's just Byrne.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's Burn. Let me just double check that though.
Yeah, I got to fix
Yeah,
that too.
it's Burn. No
Okay.
S.
Yeah. Okay. I will fix that. I apologize, Liam. And shout out to him and the staff. New coach at Smithtown West, Matt Schultz. I thought he did a good job. I thought he had the boys in looking good, like for early on. I thought the
Yeah,
kid.
look, your first game going up against Chaminade, of course, that's a tall order. But then like they kind of got their legs under them, and in that second game against Ward Melville, I mean that was a competitive game, 11-7
Yeah,
final.
and Melville, to jump into Melville, I was impressed with Melville. I'm always impressed with them. I think that's one of the better. I mean, that's one of the better programs in the history of the game, let alone. But obviously, Jay Negus played for the famous Coach Cuozzo, but Jay and Muskie and Murph, they do such a good job. Their teams, this is something that parents should realize. There's nothing wrong with playing JV as a freshman or a sophomore, because this is the perfect example, this program. They obviously teach the same things throughout their system.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they have also a summer program, which is a great program, Patriot Elite. And these kids are being coached by Muskie and Coach Negus, Coach Murphy, and then kids that grew up in the program. So, you can go to a great kid like the starting goalie at Carolina, Colin Krieg. They have so many people that come back that these JV kids step up. And when they get into when they're at the varsity level, they're ready to go.
Yep. Fully prepared.
We look at a kid like we talked about the Harvard kid earlier, Callan McLaughlin, right?
Yeah.
He's a man now.
Boy, did he have some night last night.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good.
Yeah.
And I think that kid is only getting better.
I would agree.
How about John Madden Murphy?
Yeah, Madden Murphy again setting the tone at the face-off X, and he had he did have a goal like right off of an ensuing face-off, and he had a couple of really good looks at the cage last night. Thought he could have found the back of the net more than once, but just like in terms of getting possessions for Ward Melville, Madden Murphy, he definitely did his job last night at the X.
I was impressed with him. Rosano, who stepped up, but it's same thing with the Poles. When you talk about the Poles in that program, I mean, obviously Benny Ellers, right? The kid McMinn, who's an absolute stud.
Yeah, Aiden McMinn going to bring
it. Jake Sutterly. How do you say his name? Sutterly?
I say Sudali. I hope that's correct.
And both goaltenders played well. I mean, I think both of them. I mean, I don't know if they're going to split or they're going to. Yeah, that's what else. The other thing they do in these leagues, they don't worry about the winning. They play everybody.
Yeah, like if you got multiple goalies, like you're using them, and you're rotating really across the board at every position.
Kudos to Melville. Good job, coaches. I enjoy watching you guys play. And then they played a doubleheader too, and they got up against the young guns, the Express 27s, which are all freshmen from around the island. And I got to tell you something, it wasn't close on the scoreboard, but those Express kids impressed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I know you were saying last night that you liked what you were seeing from Express.
Love the kid. How do you say Sean's last name? Tuchillo?
Yeah, Sean Tuchillo.
He's a freshman. He went 3-2 against Melville's varsity.
Yeah, like these are kids that when we cover games looking ahead into like 2025, 2026, like we're going to be seeing these kids all over the field for their respective programs.
Yeah, the kid Schwartz goes 1-1. Nicky Haugen. I mean, he had 2 ground balls, 2 course turnovers, a goal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the kid Fourthoffer, the defenseman, I thought played well. I mean, I'd love to see more of these kids. The kid Iowano from Cold Spring, he had a couple nice
Yeah.
defensive stops. He's a true D midi. That kid. That kid keeps getting bigger and stronger. He could be an awesome D midi. I mean, I thought Alex Vitale thought played well, and then the kid Jake Collins, he's like having a coming out party in this league.
Yeah, Jake Collins. I mean, we had our LILJ team raving about him this past Sunday, our team that was on the call for that first game. And I got a chance to see him last night firsthand on the mic. And yeah, he's absolutely living up to the billing,
Yeah,
considering all the great things that are being said about his game.
yeah.
And
I nicknamed him Gumby just because he's so flexible in the net.
yeah, we were talking about that last night, and you had asked like where does he go to school? So I was like, oh, okay, let me look this up because I'm not quite sure. And then like lo and behold, he goes to Chaminade. So can
Yeah,
you really
that started
be
the Brendan
surprised?
Krebs conversation. Yeah, exactly. Chaminade. Well, both schools, Chaminade and St. A's, they always have great goaltending. I mean, Gavin Snyder, who's another kid, his brother Tommy was a great goalie there, who's now starting at Fairfield. I think he's starting every game since his freshman year. Um, and that's obviously, but like not all these kids are parochial kids because I'm looking at this. Um, Iowanu is a Cold Spring kid. Panagopoulos, we haven't seen him. He didn't play, but he's a friend's kid. Robertiello, I think he's a Southside
That's
kid.
South Side, yeah.
Roy Testa, Cold Spring, he didn't play last night. Colby Konigsberg hasn't played yet. He's a Cold Spring kid. Logan Hecht, he's a St. A kid. He's good. That kid's a good midfielder. I think that kid's gonna be a really good player. Yeah, these kids they're developing. I mean, and I went over to the coaching staff afterward. I said you should be very proud of these boys. They fought. Nicky Hogan was fighting until the game ended, and it was like what was the final, like 13-4?
Yeah, the final of that game was 14-3.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't matter. These kids fought. I was very impressed with them. Very, very, very impressed with them. Shout out to those boys. So we'll get to see some more lacrosse this Sunday, and I guess we'll come back and do it again next week, huh? And do a little recaps.
Yeah, we should be back on Monday to recap all the games from Sunday and just kind of keep it going here throughout the Winter League. This is something that we're gonna be doing every week for both the boys and the girls. The recaps through the podcast, also the written recaps, which can be found on the lilaxjournal.com under the news tab. So we have written content as well as the video recaps on YouTube, and of course a ton of highlights and a ton of content being dropped across our various platforms, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, and just really dropping a ton of things throughout the course of the Winter League.
Yeah, shout out to you, buddy. You did a great job this whole week, and I know it's tiring. And I mean, Sunday you did 22 games. Last night you did 8 games. We did 30 games, and I don't even know how many hours. Probably 5, 6 hours, and then there was in like 15 hours. So get some rest because we got to be ready to go on Sunday.
Oh yeah, we'll be back and we'll be ready to go for sure.
Speak to you guys soon.
All right, thanks for everyone that tuned in. See you guys Sunday.